water and wastewater impact fees, capacity fees. And it was actually a puzzle to me because Florida Rural Water Association are the guys that wear the white hat. They if you've been in doing utilities in Florida for any amount of time, you know that when you're in trouble, you can go to them. They help you out for no cost. They jump in there. If there's a natural disaster going on, those guys are right there. And I didn't understand why there would be something that I had felt was a bad thing to have, and your Florida Rural Water Association was saying, could you work with us on these capacity fees that we do? So I had to dig in and really understand them to be comfortable with what they were doing, because I trusted Florida Rural Water Association. And so what I'm presenting to you is the information that I've got together in the process of doing them, many of them now with Florida Rural Water Association, and understanding what this means and what it means to the folks in your town and for you all. Florida Rural Water Association specializes in water, wastewater rates and financing. They serve over 1,400 cities, towns, municipalities, utilities around the state, well over now. They've done over 1,000 financing and rate studies, and they've never had a legal challenge. Their studies follow Florida statutes, case law, industry standards. So you're coming from a solid foundation. For your water revenues, there's basically 4 categories. You have rates. We all know what those are because we get our bill every month. You have capacity fees. Capacity fees are a one-time fee that a new user pays. Now, if somebody comes to you and they say, I'm going to build 50 homes, 75 homes, and they'll be ready in a year. You can't say, okay, we've got all the services for you, and build the services within a year. Design, finance, have them in place. You have to have capacity ahead of time for what's going to be coming in later, because it's a long process. You have to get the funding, you have to plan it, you have to construct it. And so you have had to build in capacity for future users. And the Florida statutes even require it. If you get a new permit for your plant, for your wastewater treatment plant, you've got to demonstrate what's going to happen over the next 20 years, and are we going to be able to meet it. If you are showing that your water treatment plant is running at 75% of capacity, you've got to prepare a report for DEP saying, okay, this is what's going to happen. This would be when we got closer, and we're starting design, we're preparing. So you have to have plenty of lead time, and you're required to have plenty of lead time to know what's coming. So you have had to build into your systems for future people. You paid for what they're going to be using later, and your existing townspeople have paid for you having the capacity for somebody later to come in and say, I need this much for what I'm building right now. So that's your capacity fees. Then the next thing is connection fees, and those are just exactly what it costs for somebody to connect up, to put in the service line. Your public works decides on what it's going to cost them to just be able to serve them, and you get reimbursed for it basically. And then you have other fees like late charges, turn-offs, turn-ons. So the bulk fees that you're talking about there really are your rates and capacity fees. They're one-time charge. They're only used for capital. You don't use them for operating the utility. You don't use them for O&M costs. And it's the fixed cost for your storage tanks, your treatment plants, your lift stations, your pipes in the ground. The reason for them is that growth is paying for growth. The people that are coming in to use the system are paying for what's being provided for them to have available to be able to use. They're designed so that there's a fair system for new users to pay their proportion of the system that they're going to be taking. It's an analogy is a bus. the seats on a bus. You have your rates that people have been paying for your operation, for your debt. That's like the gas, the tires, the drivers. And the existing rate payers have been paying. They've paid for their seat. They've been paying for their seat. They've been paying for the bus to run. The capacity fees are the new passengers paying for their seats that are on the bus, that have been there for them to be able to get on for. And the objectives of the capacity fees are that the new development pays its own way for what it's going to be using in your system. It funds your major expansions for your system that you need. It minimizes the debt and the need for future debt so that you're running your utility responsibly. You're not having to go out on a limb to take in debt to beef up for what's coming in. And also it helps you maintain an appropriate level of retained earnings and cash reserves for your utility because for the costs that come up. But a reasonable question is one more fee really needed? This is a hard time right now. When I go to the grocery store, I don't like going to the meat counter and looking at the prices. And everybody's stretched a little thinner. So you have to feel real comfortable with putting any new fee in at all. Dealing with growth and infrastructure decay, I already talked about Florida statutes require communities to retain and anticipate and prepare for growth, to retain enough service for who's coming in. You can't just not give people water. You can't just not provide the sewer service. It takes a lot of years to build capacity into the system. And on top of that, you have to keep the system in good operating condition. You can't afford for your lift stations in town to just not be running anymore. Then they're overflowing into the streets and backing up into people's homes. And you have to be able to do continual repair and replacement to keep up with it. So if you, there's some options for how you determine capacity fees. One is you just ask people around the area, what are you charging? Okay, we'll average it out and charge something like that. The problem, and that's a quick and easy method to do it. The problem is it's not defensible. It doesn't meet the Florida statute requirements, and it's not going to be a good number for you. Mr. Barber's here from Williston, right next door. Their number is different than your number because their utility is different. It's similar, but a utility that's more compact. The people are living closer together, so you have a certain amount of worth of infrastructure, and you've got a certain amount of people using it. When you've got more people using it in a more compact area, it's going to be a lower capacity fee. An area that's very spread out is going to have less people using even more infrastructure, and so it's going to be more. So to just see what other people are charging will not give you a fee that you can defend or that is going to meet the needs for your system. Instead, we take what's done is you take the total cost for what all your infrastructure is worth, your treatment plant, lift stations, your pipes, and you divide it by the amount of equivalent residential connections in your area. So you end up with a cost, a worth of your utilities per equivalent residential connection. So that's per house, or if it's something commercial or a government building, it's worth by how much water they use, so many equivalent residential connections. And then somebody wants, so you have a cost per equivalent residential connection. Somebody wants to come in and build 50 homes, then it's 50 times that cost per equivalent residential connection. And that's how your capacity fees are determined. There's two options. One is remaining useful life basis, and one is called replacement value basis. And both of those options are presented for you in this report. The remaining useful life is a value to the existing asset based on the current condition of it, based on the years it's expected to continue to run. And so what happens is, if you have an old lift station that's the useful life is determined by the Public Service Commission. So they say the useful life should be 27 years. You've got a 30-year-old lift station that's just been cranking along. Well, the useful life basis of that is basically zero, maybe 10%. But it's not a fair value for you, because if somebody comes online, they're getting that use for nothing, but you're going to have to do something about that lift station. You're going to have to replace that lift station. You've got to provide what's really a true value for that lift station, not something that has no value at all. So the replacement value basis is the true and sustainable cost of running and replacing your water and wastewater utilities. And that's a basis that Florida Rural Water Association recommends. Now, if you look at your recommended water capacity fees there, the useful life basis is about $1,200 per ERC, equivalent residential connection, and the replacement value is $2,750. To give you an idea for what the Florida Rural Water Association has done around the state for the last few years, the average water capacity fee has been about $4,700. So for your water capacity fees, it's less than the average that's been done around the state for the last few years.
Did you say 4,700?
Yeah. About 23% of your water treatment plant's being used right now. So that means you have 3,500 more service connections available in your water treatment plants. It's 3,500 more capacity of ERCs. If you collected capacity fees for all the service connections that you still have available, it would be about $9.7 million worth of capacity fees that you would collect for the rest of the capacity that you have kept available in your water treatment plant. Now, your wastewater capacity fees are higher, and they're $57.20 for the remaining useful life and $97.80 for the replacement value. You have a spread out wastewater system for the amount of area that is spread out in the infrastructure you have, not many users compared to other systems. And I'll give you an example. High Springs has 5 times the sewer connections that Bronson has. So you did 5 times more users. But they only have two times the gravity sewer in the ground. And they're actually somewhat spread out. So that gives you a picture of, for the amount of users you have and the amount of infrastructure that you have in the ground, that's what's driven up your wastewater capacity fees. You have I said that High Springs has 5 times more users, but you and High Springs have about the same number of lift stations. So even though they have 5, and so that's a big part of the cost for your infrastructure. So even though you have much less users, you have about the same amount of lift stations. So you've got $97.80 per residential connection. The average across the state for the last few years for the same replacement value has been $57.50. So that shows you the difference between what you've got and what's been the average. Like with the wastewater, you're using about 47%, about 50% of your capacity in your plant. To go up to 100% of capacity, you would have 426 more service connections, more ERCs. And if you charge capacity fees for those, that would represent about $4.2 million. and capacity fees. So I'm available for any questions. There's a lot of information and numbers we've thrown around here.
Got any questions? Like you say, this is a lot of info.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Catherine, we appreciate it. We don't have to sit down and put it in the old brain cells, as they say, and see where we can come up with a solution here. Anybody got any questions or anything? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna get back with her soon on what she was talking about. Because when we're talking about some fees,
Correct.
I'm concerned about fees. And she's right about one thing, everything is going up.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm quite sure we don't want this to be a long time getting back with her on what we're gonna do.
The question on the table has been, where do we go for the impact part of these new people coming in?
Yeah.
And that's the question.
I think that it would help for me to clarify that too.
Okay.
You have, like I said, you've built capacity in your system. You have built a system that can take care of people. These fees your existing folks that are already on having utilities don't pay this. This is not a fee for the existing people. This is a fee for a new person that comes on and wants to get hooked up for water or sewer.
So if that person that moves in here wants to build a new home, what is that impact on us, the taxpayers already, and where we have to go to just meet this criteria and stuff?
And another clarification on that is, there is an amount of money, and I'm an engineer, so my job is to present the facts. Your job is to have to make decisions about them. So I'm not, I don't need to influence you or anything else. I'm just giving you the information. But there's an amount of money that's been paid for your utilities already that you've put into it. And there's an amount of money that has to be paid for them. There's a balance people don't realize, that somebody's got to pay it. And either your existing users, your existing folks are paying it. They're paying their share plus the new people coming in. Or the new people pay their own share. So I've been asked, what do we, how about the person, the person that's making minimum wage in our community? Well, they're paying, and they're also paying for somebody else. They're paying for the new user to come in. So that's the balance that's kind of not easy to see a lot of times.
Correct. So, to surmise this, you were talking about, so your recommendation would be, on a replacement value, would be for us to go at 12.5 for an impact type situation.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Barber, just asked you a question. Sure. I don't want to put you on the spot, okay? And I'm bad about this. Do a test of this. I want to see what everybody else could have given me an idea. What do y'all do?
Well, I brought information if you'd like it.
Mr. Barber and I had a conversation about his what's going on in Williston today, and I think it will be enlightening to everybody to hear what he has to say.
So our council had a couple of concerns. One of their main concerns was they didn't want it to affect the people who were already established in the community. So when we did our ordinance, we specifically made sure the ordinance addressed that if they didn't change the connection size for the water or the wastewater, they were grandfathered in. So this is not going to affect people that are already vested in your community. The second thing that they had a concern about was the amount. And they said, is this going to drive development away? I mean, development's a good thing in some way and fashion. You want people to come to your community. You guys have the capacity built in. We do too as well. But when council looked at this, they brought in experts like Mrs. Van Zant and others. And the fact of the matter is we have 1,000 people moving into the state every week. And so Gainesville and Ocala and Newberry, those places are going to fill up. And what we had to look at when we talked to our city engineers was they said that right now, every gallon of capacity in our plant costs around $30. So if you go and double your capacity, you're talking around between $10 and $15 million. And that process has to happen when you reach 70% capacity. And they said that it takes 4 years from the time you as a council decide, I want to start building capacity, to the time that it's finished and you have that capacity, it's 4 years. So what our council looked at was they just looked at, where did they want that resiliency coming from? Did they want it coming from the people who were already in the community, or did they want it coming from the folks who are taking advantage of the community and wanting to be part of it, and did they want a sort of a buy-in from those people? And our council decided that we were going to pass it, and we did. Utilities was behind it all the way, because when we talk about development coming in, you guys are talking about 50 homes, I believe. We have 98 going in right now. We have another 248 later. We have another 700 in one site in particular. Our capacity is going to explode, and it's coming y'all's way. I mean, they're going to run out of room in our town, and then y'all are next. So I know that the numbers sound daunting, but if you look at the back end of it, I think you guys are really focused here in Bronson on this $100 million project for Cedar Key and Otter Creek. The question is that going to change your capacity? And do you want to set a precedent for those that come onto your system that they should be responsible for that cost? Or should that be bared on the shoulders of the people who are in the community investment, who have been here? And so that's really what it came down to for our town up there, was just saying, this is a reasonable cost that the developer is going to figure out in their profits. This is something that's easily done on their end, but on the taxpayer end, it's a whole nother problem. Our council also had one other concern. They wanted to come in and they said, okay, well, if we don't like the amount that was proposed by Florida Rural Water, should we change that amount? And our attorney, and I don't know what your attorney will say, but our attorney was very quick to say, don't do that. It's not defensible. And in the history of Williston, there's actually in 2014, when they did away with impact fees, they had not approved them according to a study, so they actually had to go back and refund massive amounts of money. So this time we were like, whoa, this is defendable. You can take this study, it's never been challenged before, and you can say, this is what we are standing on, this is the math. And no one's going to be able to challenge that. Not a developer, not a single home builder. The fact is, this is what it costs to buy into our system. So for those reasons, we passed it. We're grateful that the council passed it, and we're looking forward to it putting away a little bit of money, because the other thing is, I'm sure your attorney will tell you, when you pass this money will be set aside for capacity. It will not be something that the general fund gets to just kind of raid. It has to go specifically for that dedicated purpose. And in a few years, y'all are going to be faced with having to have refund or money. For those of you that are part of the grant process, you know that the difference between a CBDG at $500,000 to $700,000 and a grant that you can go for where you can cost share, right? You can ask for $2 or $3 million, but you have to have 25%. Well, that makes all the difference in the world if you have that fund sitting there that you can say, we'll kick in our 25%, and now instead of just a $500,000 grant, we can expand that to a multi-million-dollar grant. So those are just things to consider. I'm not trying to influence you one way or another. I'm not part of the town, but that's just some of the things that our council struggled with, and that's how they work through some of those questions.
Thank you, sir.
Isn't your water capacity fee around $6,700 a month, or is it the combined?
The way our system worked out, it was lower than Bronson, but that's because we have a much higher resident count. So if you break that cost up, so our total was $6,500, about half of the $12,500. But it's just the math. It's simply because for every so many feet of pipe, we have probably twice as many customers as they have on that line.
So is that water and sewer?
That was water and sewer.
And theirs is more like 12.
It's about double. Just the math, how it works out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'd like to say one thing. I'm glad I blew up that balloon because we just learned something.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. That's a lot of info. Thank you, sir. All right, next. I can find my clipboard here. Okay. All right, this is informational items. Town hall will be closed February the 20th for President's Day. And our next town council meeting will be the 21st, which is a Tuesday, everyone, 6 p.m. here. We also have a food bank that is going to be doing a food drive on the 24th at 1 p.m. at the park. This is the bread of the Mighty Food Bank Mobile Food Drive. Okay? And that will, again, that will be on the 24th at 1 p.m. So that's different than the one we have going on every Monday. All right. We also have a job fair at the First Baptist Church. That is going to be on the 23rd. We will be there with the fire department? Or
23rd of March.
Yes. On the 23rd, that's at 10 a.m. And here is, we will also have our candidate forum. That will be Thursday, March the 30th at 5:30 here. No?
The BOCC. The courthouse auditorium.
I'm sorry.
Courthouse.
At the courthouse.
Same place as last time.
At the Board of County Commissioners. And our election is April the 4th. And that is for seat 2 and 4.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
When is would be my last date? I have to come in on April. I will. Okay. Are you going to know?
You can count them on one hand, though. How many you have left?
That'll be it.
That's it.
Okay.
Guess I get you appointed. So.
What are you doing?
All right. And this is for the information. We have hired our inmate supervisor. It's Mr. William Chad Barfield. He has started with us this past Monday. Correct?
Correct.
Yes. And he is learning the ropes of the town of Bronson right now. He will be going to school here very quickly. And we look forward to having this potential to do this cleanup and all this other stuff. So looking forward to that. So, and if any discussion on any of this stuff. All right. Ms. Sue, you have the floor.
All right. So first and foremost, we need to reappoint Natalie Thomas to the Code Enforcement Board. She was on for a 1-year term, which is due to expire tomorrow on February 7th. I spoke with her last week. She's okay with being reappointed for another year.
All right.
I make a motion to reappoint Natalie Thomas to the Code Enforcement Board.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Natalie, you are reappointed.
All right. Next up, Purvis and Gray letter of engagement. So just to give you guys some figures, because I know Mark's going to ask me, so I was prepared this time.
Thank you, Ms. Sue.
You're very welcome. Okay, so very similar to the current one that we have. It's their auditing fee, includes any report reproduction, word processing, postage, travel, copies, telephone, etc. In last year's contract, it was $26,125. It is increased to $28,500, so roughly a $2,300 increase. They also increased about a 9% increase, and they also increased their, if we had to do a federal single audit, last year it was $3,500. It's increased to $3,800. Again, about a 9% increase. And their state single audit has increased the same thing from $3,500 to $3,800. And just to let you know, in total, in fiscal year 2021, 2022, we spent $36,125.75 with Purvis and Gray.
So, Ms. Sue,
Yes, sir.
what was the increase? 9%, you said?
9%. Mm-hmm.
So for 2024 budget, can we just
Just do a
budget
10%. Yeah, just so we, yeah.
Because it's going to go, if it
You're
doesn't
right.
go up that
It
much,
goes up every year.
great,
Yeah, it
but
does.
at least we won't have any surprises.
I'm with you. That's it.
All right. Do I hear any discussion? Do I hear
I guess my question would be, do we have any issues with the jobs that they've been doing? Is there any problem, or do we need to be?
I don't have any issues. I mean, this is really mostly Wendy deals with them primarily. However, the only thing I was concerned about is our audits are supposed to be done by June 30th of every year. They were very late this year. We didn't get it until the beginning of September. I mean, there's no, nobody comes in like slaps their
They
hand.
have to be done by.
It is in this contract, yes. It specifically says they're supposed to be done by June 30th.
So if it's not, we get a refund. I mean, like, what happens? If it's their fault, I mean.
Normally it's not. From like when we first started my first year here, it was done on time.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, there was a new individual brought in, is my understanding, and that's kind of part of the issue. And then just trying to get things, I don't know how to.
We had a new CPA firm. We went from Beechman Edwards to
Yeah.
Reddish and White. I mean, there was a lot of things that contributed to that last year.
That made it harder to do.
So that's going to be a problem this time.
Right, because now we're in year 2 with Reddish and White, and I've had several conversations with Barbara Boyd explaining that, I want this done by June 30th. So hopefully this year it will be done.
We've actually already started preparing our new CPA firm,
Correct.
and me. Mm-hmm. We're already doing this stuff for the upcoming audit now, so
Right.
we shouldn't have an issue this year.
Okay.
all right. I'll entertain a motion then.
We just need a motion to accept the new fees.
Yes.
I make a motion that we keep Purvis and Gray with the new fees as our accountants.
Auditor.
A second.
Properly moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
That was not a happy eye. Out of you. All right, next up is engagement letter for Reddish and White. So this is our CPA firm. Again, this would be the second year that we would be with them. Changed a little bit, and I'll tell you what. So this again would be financial statements that they do for us, accounting records, schedules, annual financial reports. The way they had the contract written last year, they just said a figure not to exceed $13,800. This year they've left it open-ended. Open-ended being $13,800 to $23,000.
That's a big gap.
It's a big gap, and it's probably mostly because, again, they were new. We were still pretty new. So we actually ended up spending a total of $21,379 with them last year. It was way more than the $13,000 that they quoted.
Wasn't it capped at 13,800?
Well, yes and no. So there's a fee for their what they do as part of the audit, and then there's a fee for bookkeeping and consulting. So when we have questions that not specific to the audit, but Wendy and I just don't know how to handle something.
Yeah.
So that fee last year was $75 to $125 an hour, and now it's $75 to $150 an hour.
Yeah.
So it depends on who's working on it, what level of auditor they are, that sort of thing. So again, we have no issues with Reddish and White.
No,
I mean, the
I
main
love
person that we deal with has unfortunately left, but we have a new person we're working with. We've had no issues with her thus far, so I would have no issues with signing this.
And they've taught me a lot of the stuff that they used to do. Kara and them have taught me to do. So there's certain things that they no longer do that we now do in the office, so that we're not being charged for some of those things.
It was learning curve last year, I'll tell you that. It was a steep learning curve.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept Reddish and White as our CPA.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
All right, next up, we're going to continue our conversation about delinquent utility bill procedures. We got you a lot more information, probably more than you guys will ever want in your packet. So this one was in your last packet, and then the one right after that is a sort of spreadsheet that's got, I think it's 8 different municipalities on it. Cedar Key, Water and Sewer, City of Archer, City of Chiefland, City of Fanning Springs, City of Waldo, City of Williston, Town of Inglis, and Town of Micanopy. And you guys can look through this, but just kind of pointing out some, commonalities, if you will. You're going to see that, number one, the deposits in most of these municipalities are higher than what we're charging. So right now for water, we're charging $40 to an owner, $60 to a tenant. Sewer is $50 to an owner, $70 to a tenant. And trash is $40 regardless of occupancy, owner or tenant. Commercial is $100 for each, so $100 for water, $100 for sewer, $100 for trash. So if you look down the first column, you'll see the deposits, they range. The high you'll see is Waldo. The City of Waldo, even though I know it's not in Levy County, they're probably the ones that I would say is the most similar to us because they have a pretty large USDA loan like we do and small number of users like we do. So they've got a $250 deposit for residential, $300 for commercial. The second column is how they treat minimum usage, meaning regardless if someone's living there, regardless, if the person is deceased, are they still charging a minimum? Some municipalities do, some do not. Kind of a mixed mash there. Next column is how they treat tenants. And again, for both tenants and for deaths, you're going to see kind of the same thing. Most of them, they take the balance from the deposit. A lot of these places are writing stuff off, except for Williston. And I actually had a conversation with them recently. So they just started using a collections company. And I actually have one that I've been talking to for the last couple months. Ultimately, we kind of decided not to go with them. But then, when I was meeting with Williston recently, I think it might even have been Donald that said to me, well, Sue, something is better than nothing. If you're getting nothing now, and you get half of whatever they owe you, that's better than nothing. So this is what I'm recommending and what the staff is. We've all been talking about this for months and months. So this is me, Curtis, Wendy, and Alexis talking. What we're recommending is increasing the residential deposit for water to $100. Increasing the residential deposit for sewer to $100, and increasing the residential deposit for trash to $100. So commercial and residential would be the same, $100, $100, $100, regardless of what it is. Obviously, if they don't have sewer, they wouldn't pay the $100. But it's $100 for water, $100 for sewer, $100 for trash. Doesn't matter if it's commercial, doesn't matter if it's residential, doesn't matter if it's the owner, doesn't matter if it's a tenant. Basically, you come in, you say, I want a new water connection, it's $100. Period.
Just so it's the same thing, or why would you charge the same thing for a residence that you would charge for?
Well, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we have enough and we can kind of talk over what point we want to do kind of a disconnect, and we're saying close the account as opposed to keeping it open right now. I know you have problems with just keeping it open indefinitely. Close the account at 60 days or 90 days, whatever amount you guys decide, but close it at that timetable, take the balance from the deposit, and then that's it. And then we're done. If for some reason it's not enough, because you'll see in here sometimes it's not enough, if it's an owner situation, we could do the lien like we're doing currently. And if it's a tenant situation, we would do collections like what Wilson is doing right now. So then that way we would get our money no matter what. But the 100 is hopefully enough, if you have several months of them not paying.
That was my question. My question is, why would you do the same kind of deposit for a business that you would for a residential, for a house?
We're just trying to make sure we have enough of a buffer in there in the event, again, whatever number we use, we can take it from the deposit, basically.
Right. So that's what I'm just saying, like you wouldn't think that if you had to go through that same process with a business that their balance is going to be more than it would be for a house.
Probably.
So I don't know that $100 is going to be enough.
We don't really have issues with commercial. I mean, that's not an issue with commercials not paying, their bills. It's more the residents. It's really water more than anything. That's really, because trash, we kind of have recourse right now. If somebody only has a trash account, we'll just go pick up the tote. And now, we're not getting charged for it. So it's mostly water that we have the issue. And again, we can do the liens, but the problem with the liens is, now we have, I don't know, between 5 and 10 of them out there, and now we've got to go update them because they're double what they were last year. So we're going to constantly have to keep doing that, which is fine, but...
Okay, if we implemented the $100, like you're talking about, that would be all on new accounts, of course.
Correct. Again, this is not for any existing, correct. This is new people.
New people. And of course, if we have a person that does go delinquent, they come back in, they got to come up with a new.
That's how most of these places, yes, it's a brand new deposit.
Okay.
Correct.
So,
Another
I have a
thing is,
question.
instead of, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir.
Instead of giving 60 days on like delinquent, I wouldn't do that.
So how far would you go out?
I do 30 days. Then see, if you do that, then you're not building up. You're not building up costs. Well, when the bill comes in delinquent, like it's got to be paid by the 15th. Then it's not be paid by the end of the month. And I'm not going to go search for delinquent, which I want to, but I'm not going to go there. But they charge you a late charge after a certain amount of time.
Right.
But we don't even go 60 days. You got to count that's delinquent, then we need to do it no more than 30 days. That way you don't have, otherwise by the time the next billing cycle come, then if they haven't paid, it needs to be cut off. Then that way you're not billing up. They're not using water, not paying for it. So not 60 days, 30 days.
30 days.
Because they're not going to pay it in, if they're not going to pay it in 30 days, they're not going to pay it in 60. Then you got more money. You got the deposit. Some people use more water than that in another month. So.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's just my opinion now.
With this,
I'm going to leave y'all with that.
with this average, most of the delinquent stuff that we have out there that comes out.
Well, you got to remember the majority of the stuff that we have that's leaned right now. It's because we've let it go for so long.
Right.
You know what I mean? But with this going forward with this, absolutely. I mean, our deposits just aren't big enough. That's one of the problems.
Well,
It's not big enough to.
Me is to get this thing in the book before it gets to these.
Correct.
These figures, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Correct.
So,
And I mean, again, you guys don't need to do anything today, but this is just, we've been round and round and round with this, many times, and that's what we're thinking, because then you don't have these things getting to, I mean, we have one right now that owes us over $5,000. We have one that owes us over $2,000. I mean, it's.
You will never see it.
It's a
Mr.
lot
Ward,
more.
do we need to do this in the form of a resolution, or how?
Be a resolution, but I have a peripheral question. If somebody applies for water service, how do they establish what their status is? Tenant, owner, or whatever?
They tell us and they bring in a copy of their lease.
They do. So they prove that they're legitimately a tenant. All right. What if they should be a tenant and these things exist from month to month without an actual written lease? Does that happen?
They have to have some type of lease. Even if it is a month lease, they have to have something that shows that they're legally at that address.
Okay, and something that's signed by you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to satisfy myself about that. Mayor, the answer is yes, it should be a resolution.
Okay.
By all means.
All right. What's the pleasure of the council on this? We need to.
I think we should raise it.
Yeah, but I think we should include in the resolution if we have to what I just.
It's 30 days instead of
30
60. He
days,
wants
yeah.
to-
So I just want to clarify because I think there was some confusion. So we raise it, the water gets cut off after a month. After a month, if the water gets cut off, are we then closing their account?
Yeah.
Or are we, okay, that's what I wanted to kind of be the conversation.
And cut the water off.
Well, right, but there's a difference between cutting the water off and closing their account.
No, you can't move them either.
No, but we can close their account. So let's say Mr. Lovely Mark came in and didn't pay his water bill this month. The 21st he's getting cut off. he has 30 days to pay. If he doesn't pay in that 30 days, he doesn't get water, but if he comes in after 30 days, he's going to have to do a whole new account, and we're going to have to do another $300 deposit. So is that for 30 days as well? The shutting of the account and a new deposit, or is that 60?
So
You see what I mean?
She's saying if it's turned off, do we want to wait 30 days before you close the account, or do we want to wait 60 days before you?
Now just me.
Because it's already behind.
Yeah,
What's the implementation?
But you cut off at 30. If you cut off at 30 days, then you're not going to accumulate no more.
You want 30, that's
Close it.
cut it off and close
Yeah,
it.
close it 30 days,
That's what I wanted to make sure. I just wanted to clarify to make sure that's what we were doing.
and that way you don't have to. And if they want to come back and get it, then they have to. Because the deposit already gone. So if they want to
Right.
cut back on again, they got to pay another deposit.
All right, so we're good with the numbers then? Everybody good with it?
May I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
So, Sue, with the deposits, how do you guys account for the deposits?
What do you mean?
Because you said 100 for water, 100 for sewer, 100 for trash. So that doesn't mean you have $300 for water. It means you have $100 for water.
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that that was
Correct.
clear in
Yes.
the resolution because
Yes.
somebody said $300. It's not $300.
If they had all three, yes.
Yeah.
If they only had trash,
but it's
it'd be
$100 each.
Each.
It's $100.
So if the $100 will cover a normal month's service of water, $100 for sewer, $100 for trash,
Correct.
then that should be fine. I just want to make sure there was no confusion. You can't commingle the deposits.
Correct.
Curtis?
Because, for example, if it's $300 total for utilities, say for example, if they don't have enough on their water account, could we take the trash money from the trash deposit
That's what I was just saying.
to fulfill the obligations of whatever they owe? Because water and sewer are going to go together.
See, that's a good point. If you take them, if you combine them together, then you got more of a deposit.
Correct.
So if anybody leave, then you got the water and you got the sewer, which is $200. Not water.
Because, never mind, I'll tell you afterwards.
But do you keep those in separate accounts? Those go in a separate line item currently?
Yes.
Well, why can't we just say instead of separate, just say utilities?
Well,
Because they're
because you-
separated on the budget, Papa.
Right, but the thing is that if you come in and you only have trash, it really is a mute issue because if you come in and you only have trash, you're going to pay $100. If you come in and you pay $100 for each, and you're cut off, if you're cut off for one, then you're cut off for all.
Right.
So it's really it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Yes, it has to be different accounts.
That would, if you want to pay your bill, I promise you, you have to come up with $300.
Right,
That's right.
and that's the thing. So it's not. Yes, they're divided, but at the same time, if you were just coming in to get water, it doesn't even matter about the sewer and the trash because you're not getting that. You're not going to put a deposit for that. You're only going to get a deposit down for what service you're using.
Correct.
All right, so we'll get the numbers together. Everybody good with that? And then Mr. Warren can draw us up a resolution and bring it back to the next meeting. Okay?
Do you feel like things are going okay now that you've got collection? Like you guys are on a good path of not having.
It's fantastic, but just to caveat what you were just talking about, we give them 7 days.
7?
So when their bill's due and we have cutoff, from the time they're cut off, they have 7 days where we finalize the account.
Wow. So we're going to do it.
And I will be honest with you, if you guys check with any utility, I don't care if it's Ocala, Chiefland, I don't care where you go, giving them that much time is amazing.
Yeah.
We just can't afford to do it.
Gotcha.
If they call and talk to you, do you guys do like payment plans?
We have an ordinance payment plan, but those payment plans are due before cutoff.
Ah.
That's what you have to deal, man.
Oh boy.
I want to check.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's not a bad idea because
Yeah.
part of the issue that we have found, because I mean, I'm not normally the person that do payments, but the longer span of time, the more likely you're going to forget it if our system doesn't flag it or something like that.
Well, and you also have your reoffenders. I mean, this is dealing with, unfortunately, the rule instead of the exception.
Right.
So these rules are in place for the people who are
And
going
it
to
is.
utilize those
Correct.
rules.
And legitimately, it is the same people every month.
Yes.
Maybe once in a blue moon, but the people that always pay their bill, if they can't pay their bill, they're calling and saying, hey, I'm short, I get paid on Thursday, can I set up something? The ones we have issues with are the repeat offenders.
But when we get when the meters are changed out, won't we be able to do it electronically?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to cut it off electronically?
No, I'm talking about. It'll be easier to pay
hit
it.
that button like
No.
He's not going to call my friend and hit this button. We always like that.
Shut off.
Yeah, let's come out with more.
Say, Aaron, I'm going to press the button.
All right.
All right, so we'll come up with a resolution for you guys to take a look at.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, last on my agenda today is unspent ARPA funds. Again, this is something you don't need to make a decision on, but I just want to bring it to your attention. So in your packet, I've given you a list of everything we've spent our ARPA money on so far. So again, we had a total of $574,480. It has to be spent by December 31st of 2023. I'm going to say that number again. That December 2023, that's this year. We have 11 months to spend $461,388.
Give me the check. I can do that easy.
Tyler said, give me the check.
That's a nice retirement.
I haven't spent it.
Right. So what I did in your packet was, so you've got the list of everything we spent the money on. Obviously, the biggest things we spent money on was we paid for one of the well pumps so far, about $29,000, and then the new 2023 Chevy Silverado that we bought, which was about $40,000. So those are the two biggest things. I put in your packet, in the event you guys want to take a look at this again, this is the capital improvement plan that we did in the summer of 2021. We haven't addressed anything under Parks and Rec whatsoever. The first two under roads and streets, obviously we're paving Wilson Avenue under the SCOP grant. We purchased the two commercial zero-turn lawnmowers. Do you have a question? No? Did you have a question? I thought you raised your hand. Sorry. We haven't done anything with paving Town Hall or anything in that area. We do still have one more thing under sewer. We did replace all of the broken valves, but we're still looking to purchase the cover for the deck. I actually just emailed Todd at Twofold today about that. Under vehicles, again, we replaced the 97 Ford Ranger. We're working on replacing the other one with Duval Ford right now. You guys remember we committed to about $70,000 for a dually. So we will have that, committed. Underwater, we've pretty much done everything there. I mean, the tap set and the handheld reading system, those are going to get replaced with the AMI system. The well pumps we're doing through Southeast Drilling. The water meters we're doing with the CDBG and ABM. And then the second water tower that may get done with the pipeline, depending on how that goes. And then Dennis has pretty much done 4 of the 6 things. The only thing on his list is the pumper truck, and then the last one, the new Ford F-150. So we're making pretty good strides on the capital improvement plan. So you might want to think about, is there anything on that list that you want to do? And then just kind of giving you some other ideas, because we were just thinking these through today. You guys may want to look back at some of the things we've proposed over the last year and a half. You might remember we talked about the track, restriping or resurfacing the track. Our original quote, again, this is old, November of 2021 was $7,500 to restripe it. I can't remember what it was to redo it. I think it was like 40 grand or something. I couldn't find that today. 45.50. So of course that's more today. The dump trailer, again, our original quote was $8,000. That was from March of 2021, so that's really old. Fire station roof. I would highly recommend that we do this, because we are thinking when the new fire station is up and running that Public Works would go into the current fire station, parking their trucks there, getting stuff out of the park and that sort of thing. I think originally the quote that we got from National Roofing Partners was about 30 grand. That was from June of last year. Sounds low to me for some reason, but that's all. Yeah, I know.
They said like $100,000 to do this whole thing, and
maybe I was just looking at one.
We told them they were
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
Sump pump. We've got RFQ out there right now, because again, it was $50,000 when we looked at that last month. And then worst case scenario, there's always the library repairs that we got the quotes for in August of last year. That was for the low bid was $115,000. Some of this would require us doing a budget amendment because we did put all of the money into water and sewer. So if we're going to do the library or whatever is going to be part of the general fund, we'd have to do a budget amendment. But I mean, those are just some of the things that we've talked about that are kind of high dollar. We're open to anything, but
And how much do we have left?
$461,000. It might. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but here's what you got to remember. I mean, it's 11 months. I mean, that's like us spending $40,000 a month. That's a pretty major purchase every
I have
month.
all that money spent already. Sherry, make a motion to do the track building.
I want a building.
Exactly.
I don't want just a track. I want a whole building.
Look, we have $400,000.
So here's one thing too, because we talked about this today. One of the big things is for Public Works and redoing here, because that equipment sits outside, and if we have a storm,
Right.
we're going to lose that. At some point, something's going to happen, and then if you're proactive, hopefully you can fix it. But I'm worried, and Curtis and them need a guy. They need a place too to store all their stuff because it literally sits outside. So,
Equipment or what?
like the bucket trucks, the mowers. I mean, yeah, they make.
Like the bucket truck, the backhoe,
I think it's
all these
yeah.
things. What happens with the bucket truck, because it sits out, the hoses, they start to dry rot. Within an enclosed environment.
Not only that,
We fix it
access
too.
for the people
As soon as I make the motion.
Security too. Derek?
Sounds like a good idea, but would you be talking about moving everything that's in the fenced-in storage area back in the park over to the...
Not all of it.
No.
Stuff that we need to secure and stuff like that. Vehicles, tractors, whatever. So, but for whatever capacity we can, that's the thing. We're going, if we do, when and if we do, that would be to take advantage of it, of course.
So in order to get the roof fixed, we have to start with new quotes, right?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we could go out to bid for the roof.
I make a motion we go out to bid for quotes on fixing the roof.
I second.
For
The
the
fire.
The roof on the current fire station?
And in this building, because didn't this one need to be redone too? It's a flat roof.
Probably, I would imagine.
I think this one needed to be redone too.
That was high on the priority list.
I would say yes, because we do want to use this building, but the roof is,
Yeah,
If they're doing one of them, they might as well do the whole stretch.
the roof is rough.
What happened to this back here, the same thing gonna happen again
Right.
with the water.
Yeah, seeping in.
All right, we have a motion.
I
We
second.
have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same motion carries.
I
Okay.
have another question. Sherry, are you saying you support resurfacing the track out there or not?
Oh, I support it, yes, but we need the roof first.
Okay, well, as far as 51,000.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't want. I mean, if we can afford it and we have the money to do it, I would like to see it done. It's not a priority over fixing the roof.
No, I didn't say it was. It was just funny.
I want to know, you mentioned a dump trailer, and we approved to get that.
Yeah, it's already in the budget. We just-
It's already paid for? The money already set aside for that dump trailer?
I paid for? No.
It's
Set aside, I think it was from several years ago, yes.
But it's not proving that it's already been paid out the money that we had, it's got to be paid out of what we got.
It's got to be, right, because we didn't actually allocate the money when you guys approved it back 2 years ago or whenever that was. So it'd have to be paid for.
We currently don't have
Yeah.
a vehicle to pull the dump trailer.
Right.
You don't have
That's
a
it.
shit to put it with? Okay, because we was talking about putting it with that old ambulance
Yeah,
at one time.
Right.
We try to see about getting a bed put on the old ambulance, but we gotta get it running, brakes and stuff on it.
That's done. He done that
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Done that 2 years ago. About the same time we, seriously, about the same time we talk about buying that dump truck, then it's fixed that right
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while.
Can we add? I mean, can that be the
Okay,
second? That needs to be
He
done.
just don't have a
Yeah,
back
make me a
there,
list.
but he fixed it now.
Oh, the tennis courts at the park? I think maybe making another basketball court. Fenced basketball court? Because nobody plays tennis.
Let me ask you, can this money used be like for a recreation center?
I mean, it can. We don't have enough money
It's
to
not
do
enough?
it.
You know, metal buildings don't cost that much.
I mean, I originally.
It's assembling and the concrete costs you more than the building does.
Right. And when we first went, out for the CDBG on the water meters, I asked Mid-Tower about that, and they were like, there's no way you guys could do it for $650.
Is there a way to like I said, nobody really uses the tennis court. The kids especially need an indoor area where we have basketball, we have league. They need somewhere where they can practice as indoors. It's not outside because they can't always get into the old gym up here. And so then basketball is a winter sport, so them being outside is not necessary. So how expensive would it be to take that court and close it in or put something over it so they don't have to be outside?
You can get some quotes.
Yeah, I mean, I have no
I
idea.
think so the question.
You're talking about the tennis court? Is that what you're talking about?
Covering, yeah, I think would be easy. But I don't know that you could technically spend the funds before December 31st and have that building completely built.
It's got to be, what we do got to be complete.
It has to be completed and paid for by December 31st.
Okay.
So with how everything runs, I don't know that you could actually build a building and have it done, completed, everything by December 31st.
Why are they building houses around here in like 2 months?
You have to remember when you talk about building enclosed, you have handicap accessibility, restrooms, the whole 9 yards. It's sprinkler, you gotta think of the classifications and everything else. It's more than just a closed
Well,
building.
if you put a pavilion on it, it'd be quicker.
But you're still outside.
You can always,
But it's covered.
hang stuff down on
This queen on the side.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't never practiced outside, but it's outside is outside.
Well, the good thing about a metal building though is you could do your outer part of it, and then as time permits and you got the funding to do all the other, you can enclose the walls and all that other on it.
Yeah.
And it's expandable, so you could build out from there once it's, if you needed to.
It's something to look into if somebody wants to.
I'll get some measurements of it and I'll call a couple people like go to Barnes.
He about 100 by 150.
100 by 150. All right.
See, you can order 100 by 1. You used to could. You can order that stuff from not born people, but from what do metal buildings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's all the one that they have in Alachua, the Hal Brady, that's all that is a metal building with a basketball court. And that's it. I mean, the new facility that they have, besides that, is much better, but the original facility that they have, all it is a metal building.
So you can build a building and don't call it and then you got to put all that stuff
Call it an all-purpose building.
Yeah, all-purpose building. You got to put all that stuff inside of it.
Well, that's just like these churches are building now. In fact, that's exactly what's fixing to come over here. Is a all-purpose building that has a gymnasium, a basketball court, and for the kids to play in. And it also has rooms off to the side for bathrooms and kitchen and all kinds of stuff. And then they can have a meeting room and whatever else.
So you're asking someone, I guess, Kurtz to get a price?
Well, just people who want counsel or whoever.
I'll call
around and see what we can come up with and just get some ideas. That's all it is, ideas. So
would that be a metal building with heating and air in it, or just?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. You're talking about,
the
we're
cost
just
is
talking
gonna go
ideas here. How much it's going to cost? I agree with what we just said. The feasibility of getting something like that built and put together between now and December 31st is highly unlikely. But never can do. Try.
The worst thing about building a metal building is the concrete and erecting the
beams, yeah.
Beam, that's the easiest thing, hardest thing about it is the concrete. And then put the building up and top of stuff on it is not a big thing.
All right, Curtis, anything else on this?
Just very brief. We have on the agenda the quote for Ring Power to replace the battery and do some work to the wastewater treatment generator. That's part of the maintenance plan, and there's some things that they found that need to be replaced on the generator at the wastewater treatment plant. And you have a total $2,600 for the total. That's something that we have to have in case the power go out.
All right. Entertain the motion.
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Ring Power to of $2,637.81.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Yeah, just for information purposes, they the one that we do the upkeep and maintenance on all our generators. This thing, Twofold gave us a quote for some blowers. We have one main blower that has went out. We gave them a price to fix that one and have a spare. And we got a smaller one that's on the second, which is about the third one on the list. They're smaller blowers. He gave me a quote to get an extra one of those while we have the ARPA money. So we'll have those in stock if they go out while we have the money.
So it's $8,000 to replace the one, and then $4,000 for the backup.
No, $8,000 for the one that's to replace the one that's broke, that's down,
right.
To repair it, and to buy one that's $8,000. And then for a backup, it's $6,000 for the bigger one. That's to be the second one. It's a big one. And then we have two smaller blowers, and the $4,350 be an extra small blower.
So for a total of what? Because I don't have that paper.
I'll add it, hold on.
14, 18, about 15, almost $15,000.
All right, pleasure of the council.
19,625.
19,625.
Mm-hmm.
I make a motion to accept the quote from Twofold Water Engineering to fix the broken blower and to get us the spares that we need to have on hand.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Okay, in the weeks to come, we're going to be getting some more quotes on some surge pumps for the plant itself. We just put in the last spare that I had. So, but they got some upgrades, so Todd is looking to see which one's going to be best for what we have, because they're on single phase. So, but I have some quotes probably in the next council meeting for those surge pumps. Third thing on this is the traffic light. We was talking about it at the last meeting. Josh with FDOT is going to give us a camera. So it's like, he said the camera is valued at $20,000. You have a quote what Somerville Electric is going to charge to install the camera. So they pretty much charge for everything. I think they got a new packet. It's like $4,232 to come and install it.
So again, there are three options. You've got your first option to replace all of the inoperable loops, which is about 10 grand. Your second option is to accept the donated camera from FDOT, but we'd have to pay the $42.32 to install it. And your third option is to do nothing and wait for them to resurface the road, and then they'll place the loops themselves.
The state will do it. They're going to think that intersection is scheduled to be repaid in 2 years. And this is the thing, people complain because like they're sitting, having to wait on the arrow to go through the cycle for about extra 40 seconds.
It ain't $10,000 worth of waiting, so it's a
That's literally what Curtis and I said today.
Patience is a virtue.
So all that will be fixed, and the state will redo the loops in 2 years when they repay it.
Okay.
You guys want us to just do nothing? Option 3, do nothing?
Option, that's what I see, that's just me.
Do that.
What's your thought?
I mean,
Red light still works right now. I mean,
it's a red
what the loops are just controlling how fast the cycle.
Well, say for example, if you're sitting, you're going north or south. If there's nobody in the turning arrow will come on if nobody's there still.
Okay.
And they have to wait until that cycle
until that goes, and then.
I mean,
Patience is a virtue.
I mean, it's a red light.
In 2 years, it'll all be redone.
Yeah, that's a waste of money, I think. You can put anything in besides waiting on them to do it for.
If it gets worse, before then we can always put the camera up. If it gets worse,
we can tell them it's in the works.
If it gets worse, we can always put the camera up.
Then I'm also asked, was that everything you had?
Yeah, I'm going to update on the meters. Evan Court, they've been here, this will be the third week. They thought it was going to take maybe a week, 2 weeks to go through all the meters. The first week they went through all the 2-inch meters. They took them out, they tested them. All our 2-inch meters are spot on. You're not losing any water revenue on the 2-inch meters. They sent the 5-inch meters off, and they sent 68 of the 3/4 meters. We haven't got the report back on those. They had to send them away to get tested to see how much water revenue we're losing based on the years of the meter and how slow they're turning according to the amount of pressure that the customers receive. This week, well, they started last week, going through looking at every meter, getting every serial number off the meters. So, you know, there's some issues there where serial number don't match what's on the paper. Probably when they changed out some meters, maybe 20, 25 years ago, that they didn't upgrade for changing out the old meter number or the new meter serial number. So we're getting some of those that don't match the system. But we probably had, I think right now we have 230. We got probably 400 and something more to go. It's a long process. You have to go in the meter box, have to dig them out, dig all the way down to the serial number. Some of you have to take the meter box all the way out to get to the serial number to get a photo of it. They measure each lid to see how many meter boxes we're going to need, how many lids we're going to need, and all those things. And they get all that data and they come back and see which way they're going to go from there.
Good. Thank you, sir. Keep the good work. Dennis?
I don't know how to talk as much. I have on the agenda tonight the USDA grant that we've been talking about. We have to do the formal signing and all that. I believe they all have copies of you, right?
Yep.
So this is just a formal paperwork to process it. There will be a lot of mail to sign the paperwork for us to commit to the $91,000 that's additional if we're awarded the $49,000 grant. And then it gives us a time frame and all that, all the stuff, which is not a problem to meet. We just need the formality part of it.
And I think Mr. Warren took a look at this and everything was okay. So
Yeah, as far as the technical details, it's standard government issue. As far as the actual proposition itself, obviously that's not for me, that's for them. Whatever commitment is involved.
All right.
So, I believe we need a motion for this, Mr. Warren?
You need a what?
Do we need a motion and vote for this?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Make a motion to accept the letter of intent to meet conditions for the USDA grant for a quick response truck.
A second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those same, motion carries.
All right. Mr. Elijah, we have water.
You do?
We don't have the well in yet, but he did hit water. So he's 360 feet down. He was pumping it out at 2,500 gallons a minute the other day with his pump. The only bad part that we see right now is it does got iron in it, but it's not going to hurt the fire system, or what we're going to use to pour out back. But
Saturday, we basically finished it off and everything. He told me that we would he'll let it set for a few days. He'll come back, put the test pump in it, and by that time they'll pump it off again, make sure everything's right. Then he'll wait for the water level to come back up, and that will determine how much casing, whatever we need to put in there to apply to get the amount of
water that we need.
That y'all need to run the thing, and we're ready to go.
But you say iron in the water?
Yeah, but it's not going to hurt anything.
It's not going to hurt anything. It's just where it's at.
You're not going to drink that water, are you?
No.
You are.
Hey, it won't hurt you. I'm living proof of that. That's why people like Mr. Dogan, Cobb, and Miss Harriet, they'd be 100 years old right here drinking all this iron. No.
Then we need to drink much more of it.
Is the city going to borrow the money for that $91,000, or is it?
We're actually going through a lease company that we've already preset, we've worked on for the last 2 years, that's going to put it on a lease for 10 years, just like we did with the engine, with the same company, and then we'll pay for it over a 10-year period.
All right.
That's all I have.
All right.
And then this is your gift card that the council wants you to have for helping out with the flags and the holiday.
It wasn't necessary, but thank you.
Thank them.
We do appreciate it.
That's what we're here for.
All right, Mr. Moore.
I'm just trying to figure out how to bill for $461,000. I haven't been able to do that, so I'm going to pay this.
Okay, we appreciate that. But you just keep working on it, okay? Okay. All right. Council committee reports. Okay, well, Dennis cut me off a little bit on my water report, but that's good. He's more in tune with it than I am because he's out there about as much as I am. We did use water filing. We have probably one of the deepest wells in Bronson now at that location at 360 feet. Just for general purpose, our city water that we use here, the casing on it is 80 feet. So just to show you. So he did have some difficulties, but it is in place and we're ready to go on that. So we can move forward with getting our facility up and running, and hopefully I talked to him about the pumps that are here. They are on location. We're waiting for the company that has to marry the 2 units together. Curtis, he said possibly this week, possibly.
I think there's some things that he got to do to the other well before we take it offline.
And he wants to make sure that we have everything in capacity. He said the move by bringing the new power units in there and everything, the line, everything, that has helped immensely. So it's going to make a lot of difference on the workability and the capacity and everything else. Yes, sir.
When do they anticipate having the new fire station open?
First of all, we have to get the water system in.
I'm gonna say realistically, March, April. Be realistic. They're still waiting on the pump. Once we get the depth of the pump and all that stuff, then they'll get that put in. He's working to build a foundation around it, finish the piping up, and then waiting on the tank that has to go with it. That's the time-consuming thing. That's still being built.
March or April.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be realistic.
Hopefully.
That's it, June.
Okay.
Summertime.
All right. Mr. Harris.
Got one question on the pipeline from Bronson to City Keys.
Yes, sir.
Water pipeline, how that's coming? You ever heard anything on that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are met at our legislative delegation situation. The proposal was put through. The applications are in process. We are waiting for them. Sue, what is the date on that thing?
For what?
For us to get a response back on.
Oh, I think it's March or April.
March or April.
On the grant applications.
It's coming up.
Did the county back out? Somebody told me the county back out.
The county did not want to participate in the application process because of the fact that they are reluctant for one reason or another. That does not mean that they're not supported, because when we had a legislative meeting, they came out, in fact, they actually came out before I got to do my presentation, and 100% behind it. They will come back, is what I'm saying, to be part of it.
But they're not gonna start. They're not gonna start off. They're gonna come. They're gonna come in the middle of.
And the reason,
in the middle of the race.
No, the reason is because of the discussion on whether the county wants to be in the water business. That's the question. And if they do that, and they go into the Rosewood, Sumner area, or out here at University and everything, where they're already there, and they've already got that situation, that's the discussion.
Well, they got West Brook already.
Yes, and they whether they want to do it, that's still.
So in other words, then, so it would be the city and who else? As the candidate signing off out.
Well, it will be the three communities and will be the main state. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The applications for a grant, is that?
Applications for the money to do this project.
Well, does that mean you're trying to get fully funded with a grant as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I thought you said before the money was there. All we got to do is just.
Well, it is. That's what we got to do. You got to apply for it. That's what we've done. We have applied for.
You know how much they're applying for?
115,000.
$115 million.
Did I say thousand? Sorry, million. Sorry. Sorry, million.
That's more zeros behind that.
Jesus.
Where are they applying with? Swanee River?
They will be the ones processing it.
Where's the money going to come from?
Out of a big checkbook.
Come from somewhere. From the governor.
It's actually begun. The applications are being processed through multiple avenues. Not one entity will had the whole thing. And this is an evolution thing that's being processed. I do not have all the answers for you right now. That's why I cannot bring some of the answers to you. It's something that's evolving every day.
The legislative delegation hearing, Matt Brooks, the county commission chairman, said it should be that they will come back in later years for more money to.
Absolutely.
Do you anticipate that might be the case?
Yes, sir. My expectation on this thing is to exceed $200 million on this thing. But here's just to give you a number. We have heard this from EPA and different ones. To move the sewer plant off of the island of Cedar Key, and it's one hurricane away from a total disaster. That would be impacted for years. You would shut down not only their aquaculture system down there, but just to move it off the island to take care of that, they say 65 million.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, some crazy number, just to move that plant off the island. Their day-to-day activities for them to treat their water down there is like $6,000 a month. And Curtis, we use about $45 worth of chemicals. They use $6,000 worth. And they still got, if you've been to Cedar Key lately, you know what they got, okay? Water Creek's got the same situation. But the same thing is here is if we can get the funding. That's all you do. You're asking for funding.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right. Tyler.
No.
The sheriff.
Okay, so I'm going to say this one more time. I have a regular it ain't even a 9 to 5, a full-time job and 5 other jobs that I do under my full-time job. So I know that the council is already aware that there are times when I am late, like tonight, because we are hosting a district tournament and we have basketball games going on tonight because that's where it is, and I'm responsible for running that even though I'm here. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Elijah, that if you have an issue with me being late to a meeting or me not being at a meeting, that you bring it to council and you come here and you not go to my job and ask questions about my job about me being at the meeting, because it comes back to me and then they want to know why it's a big deal if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So again, if you have an issue with my attendance at a council meeting, whether it's late or whether it's I'm not in attendance, which again, I communicate with Ms. Sue and she lets everybody know what the deal is, then I would appreciate it that you not come to my job or my place of work with those questions. You bring council business to council, and I'm saying this as respectfully as I can because I wasn't raised to be disrespectful to my elders, but I'm telling you, do not come to my job with that again, period.
Listen up, let me tell you what I learned on your job. I learned from Mr. Miller. He said this, that all you have to do is say, I got a meeting at such and such a time.
No, that's not true because Mr. Miller has other responsibilities, and
Well,
I'm responsible for my job. So I'm just telling you, it was not the place for you to go to my job with that. So if you had a question, you needed to ask here at the council meeting, and I would have been happy to explain or go over it with you. But do not go on my job with that. No, it's not. Mr. Miller and I have two different duties. I am responsible for the bulk of the sports at the school, like all of the basketball programs, all of the volleyball programs, all of softball, all of weightlifting, cheerleading. I am responsible for that. That's not his job. He coaches softball, so he can't cover for me all the time. Like tonight, I had to make arrangements to get coverage because I needed to be at this meeting.
No.
Okay, I'm going to interject here. We have other business we need to handle besides this, okay? So I appreciate y'all.
I thought she was the last one to speak.
She is. Do you have anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the agenda? All right. I will entertain a motion to pay the bill.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
I second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have.
Did you
get a vote? I didn't get a vote.
Oh, yeah, he said that.
Okay, all right. Unanimous on that situation?
Yeah.
And with that.
Did you do public participation? Because we didn't do it at the beginning.
Oh,
You may want to do it at the end.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, one more thing. I have Mr. Jason, I talked with him. He is stepping down too. And he has an outside job. And he's respectful enough to just step down and not come here late because it's uncalled for.
Well,
and back again here, I campaigned for Miss Shula. I wanted Miss Shula to be here. Let me finish. Let me finish. I wanted her to be here. But my thing is, if she knew she had all those responsibilities, why would you want to be here? I wouldn't.
Again, that's
And if I had an idea that you didn't want to be here, you probably wouldn't want.
I never said I didn't want to be here. I said that it was wrong of you to go to my job to ask about council business, and it is.
You got anything else, Mr. Elijah?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Meeting adjourned.